Good morning, everyone. When each one is going to teach one, then we will have every child an educated child. And education is the key to unlock the golden door of freedom. I am Gunit Kaura, serving as an organizing committee member for I2OR International Day of Education Awards 2022. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome one and all to the virtual ceremony. The said ceremony is being organized by International Institute of Organized Research I2OR India, which is a registered MSME with Ministry of MSME Government of India. We decided to go virtual to recognize remarkable contribution by our respected teachers, academicians, education leaders and educational institutions on the occasion of International Day of Education 2022. I2OR International Day of Education Awards 2022 recognizes excellence and milestones achieved by teachers, academicians, education leaders and educational institutions. We have received 540 nominations for the Envid Awards and 69 profiles were selected for the occasion. So let us begin the proceedings by recognizing the awardees on this special day. So our first category is Educational Excellence Awards. And the award goes to Institute for Future Education, Entrepreneurship and Leadership, Pune, Maharashtra, India. And our next awardee is Center for Bioscience and Nanoscience Research, affiliated to Bharathiyar University, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, India. Our next category is Academic Excellence Awards. So our first awardee is Dr. Asha Ranu. Our next awardee is Dr. Ramindrapati Pandey. Our next awardee is Mrs. Y. Lalitha Kameshwari. Our next awardee is Dr. Satendra Singh. Our next awardee is Dr. A. Sita Lakshmi. Our next awardee is Dr. Kamalveer Singh Dhinsa. Our next awardee is Dr. Kamli Gupta. Our next awardee is Dr. L. Sujay Helen. Our next awardee is Mr. Rahul Kailash Bharti. Our next awardee is Dr. S. Vimalnath. Our next awardee is Dr. P. Rangarajan. Our next awardee is Dr. V. Murugan. Our next awardee is Professor Dr. Vikas Bhaurao Bhutte. Our next awardee is Dr. Damodar V. Prabhu. Our next awardee is Professor Dr. K.C. Reddy Venkateshwar Reddy. Our next awardee is Dr. R. Dharmaraj. Our next awardee is Dr. Jitendra Kumar. Our next awardee is Mr. Sajan C.H. Our next awardee is Dr. M. Babu. Our next awardee is Dr. Archana Milind Rajurkar. Our next awardee is Dr. Y. Vevish Jinila. Our next awardee is Dr. Milind Kashinath Patel. Our next awardee is Dr. H. Joseph Prabhakar. Our next awardee is Mrs. P. Sheba Ranjini. Our last awardee is Dr. V. Parimala. Our next category is Edu Leader Award. And the award goes to Dr. Shisham Deepak Kumar Degatwala. Our next awardee is Mr. Ram Bansal. Our next body is Dr. Malini Manjumdar. Our next body is Dr. Nimushakavi S.N. Murthy Sharma. Our next body is Dr. Sampada Gulabani. Our next body is Dr. Mercy Paul Selvan. Our next body is Dr. U. Mary. Our next body is Professor Dr. Siddhartha Ghosh. Our next body is Dr. G. INR PhD TN SET. Our next body is Dr. KRN Kiran Kumar. Our next body is Dr. Sarang Ratnakar Javkhedkar. Our next body is Engineer Rohini Sharma. Our next body is Professor Dr. Devadatta Mishra. Our next body is Dr. S. Prabhakaran. Our next body is Mrs. Sushila Kanduri. Our next body is Dr. Basanna S. Patagundi. Our next body is Mr. Vivek Thautam. Our next body is Professor Vikas Dhawan. Our next body is Mr. Satyaveer Sharma. Our next body is Professor Dr. Indrajit Pan. Our next body is Mrs. Asha Saran Srivastav. Our next body is Ms. Harpreet Kaur. Our next body is Dr. Geeta Shrikant Latkar. And our last body is Dr. L.K. Atri. Our last category is Teaching Excellence Award. And our first body is Dr. A. Vijay Amutha Mary. Our next body is Dr. Shakira. Our next body is Mrs. Vinu Bhatia. Our next body is Dr. M. Dharmi. Our next body is Dr. Gupeshwar Mukherjee. Our next body is Dr. Rakesh Kumar Yadav. Our next body is Mrs. B. Haripriya. Our next body is Dr. Atul R. Bentley. Our next body is Dr. Parul Thapar. Our next body is Dr. Joga Chandrasekhar Rao. Our next body is Mr. Jyoti Prakash VM. Our next body is Mr. Pradeep Pillai. Our next body is Dr. Sunita Rani. Our next body is Dr. Priyala Shairi. Our next awardee is Dr. G. Brindha Krishna Kumar. Our next awardee is Dr. S. Chancy. Our next awardee is Dr. A. Devendran. Our last awardee is Dr. R. M. Jwani. So all good things come to an end. On behalf of I2OR, I would like to congratulate all the award winners and wish you all Happy International Day of Education 2022. Looking forward to meet you all on the occasion of National Science Day on 28th February 2022. To submit your application for the National Science Day Awards, please see the description for the link. Thank you everyone for joining us today.